Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy coffee time. So I got a video for you guys today, and it's kind of covering the topic of like powers that be, you know, really aren't telling us the entire picture. And what do I mean by that? I mean that the people that are running the show, the people that are really controlling everything, guys, well, they're kind of misleading the population. They're kind of misleading the people, and the average person really knows, I think, deep down what's actually happening. But if you're kind of in denial that, the inflation isn't, you know, above 2 to 3%, and you think that the government's going to tell you the truth, well, guys, watch this clip right here I have, and you let me know what you think about that.
That's the cost of living crisis. Suddenly we went up from prices being around there to prices being there. And you don't really see that in this data, okay? Because inflation is really just measuring the difference between that and that. And if you look at those two lines, you're talking about a 2.3% change. That's the number we're talking about today. But for a lot of people, it's not about that. It's about the difference between this and that. And when you look at the difference between this and that, that's 20%. And I think that's the dichotomy here between these inflation numbers where it looks normal and this, which is really not normal at all.
All right, guys. So as you saw the clip, you saw that the inflation rate is not 2.3%. It's not 3%. The real inflation rate is over 20%. So if you felt like things have gotten more expensive, well, it's because they have, guys. If you feel like things are just pretty unaffordable and you don't know why, you just can't quite put your finger on it, well, there's your reason. Because in the last 5 years, since 2020 to 2025, things have gone up over 20% in value. From food to housing to cars to goods and services. Labor's gone up. So you have to start wondering, right? When is things gonna turn around? I know a lot of people are hopeful in this aspect, right? A lot of people think that things are just gonna turn around. And I'm the same way, right? I think and I hope that things do turn around, right? But I'm not naive to the fact that once prices go up, they're never coming down. You understand that? Now, the government's going to manipulate the numbers and distract you with stuff, but in reality, you're not really going to see prices come down. They're going to stay stagnant, following a massive 20% increase over 5 years. So you have to really start thinking about an exit strategy, guys, or at least a part-time exit strategy, or plan B, I like to call it. And a lot of people, they're starting to turn, to like living abroad and, moving outside the country. A lot of people choose Mexico, Colombia, Philippines, some parts of Europe, like Spain, is essentially a early retirement. And that's why I think a lot of people should probably start really considering that option, early retirement. Because if prices have gone up 20% in 5 years, where does that leave us? Where is that going to put you in another 5 years? If people are barely hanging on now, right, where are they going to be in 5 more years? So let's just say 2030, right? 2030, 2031. In 4 or 5 years from now, where are prices going to be? Because there's an agenda out there called Agenda 2030. And I'm sure you guys have heard about it. You'll own nothing and be happy, right? We're going to become a renter nation. Everything will be rented, from your vehicle to your house to, financing food. Like, it's just crazy. So we had to start realizing that the system's not really going to change, right? And if the system's not going to change, then we have to change. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that essentially you, as a American, a consumer, wherever you're watching this, you might be in the UK, you might be in Ireland or Australia, or somewhere around the world, Mexico, Canada. But the thing is that wherever you live, whether you're in the United States or you're outside the United States, um, things are going to continuously get expensive, right? So if the inflation is happening in the United States, it's you ever heard the expression that when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches the flu? Essentially, when America catches a cold, the rest of the world catches a flu. That's because when inflation hits here in America, massive inflation happens overseas in other nations. And if you're outside the country and you're not making US dollars and you're making your local currency, things are probably hitting you really hard. Now, if you live abroad and you make US dollar, you can kind of it's called currency arbitrage, right? That's one way to escape this system we live in, right? Retire early, move abroad, make US dollar. You're good, right? But the problem is that the inflation's kind of global at this point. So you're not really going to escape the inflation. It's just how do you diversify your income? You need to diversify your income and make sure that you're able to sustain yourself wherever you go. Because at the end of the day, guys, you're not really going to be able to escape the inflation. You're not going to be able to escape the taxes necessarily, legally. And so at a certain point, you're going to have to realize, like, what is next? You know, um, people can't work 50, 60 hours a week and barely get by for years upon years. People just give up. You're seeing that now. I mean, you're seeing a lot of people just give up because people can't, nor do they want to work long work weeks just to barely get by. And people are starting to wake up to that and starting to realize that there is an alternative. And that is not just living in the United States. They could go to Europe. Parts of Europe is cheap. Parts of Latin America, Asia are cheap. So there's alternatives. But to have the government tell you the inflation rate is only 2 to 3% is a complete lie. It is a complete lie. They're just zooming in to that year and that year only. You zoom out. Look, you didn't get a pay increase of 20% in the last 5 years. You may have, and you're probably one of the few that did, but most people did not get a pay increase of 20%. That's why people are hurting. You understand that? That's why people can't sustain themselves. Because, like, literally in the 5-year period, everything went up. So there's a couple, like I said, a couple ways we can go about this, guys. You can demand change from the government, or we can diversify your income and try to move abroad. Also, if you're against moving abroad, then there's another alternative you can do, which is completely downsize your lifestyle. Completely downsize everything. Trade in the brand new truck, get a used truck. Instead of having the 5-bedroom house, go for the 3-bedroom house. There's ways to downsize. You just have to be willing to make that sacrifice. But I want to come on here, guys, and let you guys know that, look, nothing is as it seems. Remember that. And at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we take care of ourselves. Us as individuals, we have to take care of ourselves because the government's not coming to save you, nor me, guys. So, on that note, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're still tuned in, like the video as well, subscribe. And I have another video going to pop up right here. And yeah, guys, I'll talk to y'all later. All right. Peace out.